You walk through your space, but something feels stuck. The floors are clean. The air feels still. But the energy, it doesn't move. It doesn't greet you. It just lingers, like a conversation that never finished. Maybe it's your couch, cutting the room like a wall that no one questions. Maybe it's your bed, pressed too deep into a corner where rest feels shallow. Or maybe it's the chair, the one that never fits your body and somehow never fits your life either. It's not about design. It's about alignment. Not the kind you see, but the kind you feel when your breath pulls tight and your mind can't quite land. In Feng Shui, furniture shapes more than rooms. It shapes how energy arrives and whether it feels welcome enough to stay. When your furniture is too large, too misplaced, or too out of sync, your chi doesn't flow. It floats, then fades. So today, we'll uncover 5 furniture mistakes that block your energy's natural rhythm. Mistakes that exhaust your focus, weigh down your clarity, and quietly misalign the parts of you that once felt whole. Because sometimes it's not your energy that's lost. It's just your space, never given the chance to breathe with you. Let's shift what's stuck. Let's return what was once flowing. Let's begin. You walk from the kitchen to the living room, but your body doesn't walk. It weaves. Your shoulder tilts. Your ribs shift. Your breath pulls in, like it's trying not to disturb the air around you. You've done it so many times, you stopped noticing the lean, the twist, the apology written in posture, but your nervous system didn't forget. Neither did your energy. Even when your voice says, "Everything's fine," your body still whispers, "I'm navigating something that shouldn't be here." In Feng Shui, flow is not a suggestion. It's the language of energy, a message that moves from space to soul, uninterrupted if we let it. But when furniture blocks natural walkways between the front door and the heart of your home, between one room and another, chi fractures. The breath of the house breaks its rhythm. It tries to complete the loop, but bounces, backs up, waits at the edge of entry. Blocked paths don't just halt energy, they distort its voice. An energy that feels unwelcome stops speaking. This isn't just about a table too far out or a couch angled wrong. It's about all the times you made yourself smaller just to avoid disrupting someone else's comfort. You stepped aside. You held your breath. You adjusted. And without realizing, you started living as if presence is intrusion, as if your existence was something to tiptoe through. And the house didn't teach you that. It simply mirrored back what you already believed. It's like walking through life with a hallway that narrows when you pass. You don't complain. You just move differently until one day you forget what it felt like to walk in a space that wasn't asking you to bend. And maybe the room isn't smaller. Maybe the problem isn't space. Maybe it's that your energy stopped expanding because it kept being told, not here, not now, not too much. When we're forced to shift or squeeze in daily movement, our nervous system stays on alert. Muscles micro-adjust. Breath shortens. Awareness splinters. This constant, subtle stress creates low-level fatigue. Not enough to notice, but enough to drain clarity, focus, and joy. Energetically, it's like living inside a maze. Your body doesn't trust stillness because it's always prepared to navigate another turn. So today, clear one path, not for neatness, not for rules, but for re-entry. Walk through your home like it was made to receive you, unbent, unfolded, unapologetic. Let your breath extend all the way through a room. Let your steps sound like you belong, because every step that's easy is a message to life that says, I'm here, there's space now, come in. But paths aren't the only places energy gets trapped. Sometimes it's the corners, the quiet edges, the spaces we never quite reach, that begin to speak the loudest. And that's where we go next. Some corners don't just feel quiet, they feel compressed. Like the air in them is thicker, like something's being held there, but not with love. It's that shadowed pocket, behind the plant, between the couch and the wall, under the shelf, that no one dares to dust. You don't sit there, you don't look there, but you feel it. Every time you pass, your breath pulls back, just slightly, as if that part of the room learned to disappear, and now it's teaching you to do the same. In Feng Shui, corners are not just leftovers. They're energetic pivot points, places where qi is meant to soften, curve, rebound, and recalibrate before flowing on. But when we crush those corners with heavy shelves, bulky chairs, boxes we forgot about, the qi stalls. It doesn't just stop. It swirls, searches for release, then settles into energetic stagnation. The corner becomes a dead zone, and energy trapped in corners becomes emotion you can't quite name, but always feel. Every crushed corner echoes a boundary once collapsed. It holds the memory of when you didn't say no, of when your needs were too inconvenient, of when you made yourself small so someone else could expand. You think it's just a tight corner, but your energy knows it's a place where you were once overridden. And when you leave corners unclaimed, you begin to lose the edges of yourself too. What you want, what you allow, what you no longer recognize as sacred. It's like living in a room where the corners have started to cave in. Not all at once, but slowly, with weight, with time, with silence. You still have walls, but your shape has softened at the edges. And over time, you begin to forget how much room you were meant to take, not just in the house, but in conversations, in love, in your own life. When the corners in your home are filled too tightly, your body senses it. You may not notice it right away, but a part of you always knows. There's no room to soften. You take shorter breaths. You hold tension in your shoulders. You move a little quicker through the space, without meaning to. That's not a personality trait. It's how your energy responds when it doesn't feel welcome, because when your space can't breathe, neither can you. And when energy gets pressed into silence, ease becomes impossible. So go to that corner, not with judgment, but with presence. Move the weight, sweep the dust, let the light reach it. For the first time in a long time, you don't have to make it beautiful, just breathable, just seen, because every corner you reclaim is a boundary remembered, a quiet yes to the version of you who no longer wants to live in the margins. But corners aren't the only places where energy shifts your shape. Sometimes it's the bedroom, the place meant to hold your rest, your center, your softest strength. And when balance disappears there, everything else begins to tilt. You lie down, but something in you stays alert. Your eyes close, but your chest doesn't soften. The bed touches one wall, the other side, too tight to step into without turning sideways. It's not broken. It's not wrong. But somehow, it's never felt like a place you fully arrived in. And little by little, you learn to rest on one side of yourself. In Feng Shui, your bed is more than furniture. It's your energetic center, where your nervous system resets, where breath slows into safety, where connection deepens to self or to someone else. But when your bed is pressed into a corner, or only accessible from one side, the chi becomes lopsided. One side flows, the other stays silent. That silence echoes in your relationships, in your sleep, in your sense of being held by space, by someone, by life. An unbalanced bed isn't just inconvenient. It becomes a metaphor for every dynamic, where you gave more than you received, where one side had freedom and the other was always cornered, where presence wasn't shared but navigated. Even when you sleep alone, your bed whispers back. Every moment you made space for someone else's comfort at the cost of your own wholeness. It's like trying to rest on a raft that drifts, slightly off balance. You're afloat, but always adjusting, always compensating. You tell yourself, this is fine, but your energy never fully drops. Because part of you knows you're still carrying weight the bed should have taken for you. Studies show that when we sleep in uneven, constrained environments, our bodies stay partially alert. we move less deeply into rest. We don't drop as far into safety. And over time, this almost rest turns into emotional fatigue. Not because we're doing too much, but because our space never gave us full permission to let go. So pull the bed out, even just a little. Make room for energy to approach from both sides. Let your space say, "You are welcome here from any direction." Center the bed, center your sleep, and center yourself again in a world that often asks you to live off balance. Because the more supported you feel at rest, the more grounded you'll feel when everything else begins to move. And movement will come. It always does. In the living room, in the job, in the pace of life. But some movement doesn't come from you. It pushes at you through oversized objects and energy that no longer makes room for your rhythm. Let's talk about that next. There's a couch in your room. It fits. But somehow, the room doesn't feel like it's yours anymore. It takes the light. It blocks the view. It makes the space feel like it belongs to the object, not the person living next to it. And over time, you walk quieter. You move around it. You live around it, as if you're borrowing your own space. In Feng Shui, energy moves best when everything has room to breathe. But when furniture is too big for the room, even if it's beautiful, it takes more than space. It takes attention. Qi doesn't flow through it. It gets caught around it. It slows down and starts to feel heavy. The room isn't messy, but it feels like it's always pressing in, and your energy starts to step back. Oversized furniture often mirrors oversized presence, things that feel louder than you. The chair that makes your desk feel small. The shelf that covers half the wall. The table that makes you eat closer to the edge. And maybe you tell yourself, it's quality. It was expensive. It's fine. But your energy knows you're shrinking so something else can stay centered. It's like wearing a coat, 2 sizes too big. At first, it feels cozy. Then it starts to drag. You can't move the way you used to. You trip. You fumble. And one day, when you realize you've forgotten what your real shape feels like underneath it. That's what big furniture can do. It hides you slowly. When we spend time in spaces that feel too full or too big, our body pulls in. We breathe a little less. We speak a little softer. We hold our arms closer to our body without knowing why. That's not just habit. That's your energy. You're trying to make room for something that took too much. And the more you do it, the more your space starts to feel like it's not really yours anymore. So look around. What's taking up more space than it needs? Not just physically, but emotionally. What feels too loud, too big, too present? Pull it back. Let the light come through. Let the air move again, because when the room starts to feel like it's yours again, so does your energy. And that's when you notice the small things too, like how some chairs don't hurt, but never really hold you either. How some seats look right, but feel slightly off. And that's where we're going next. You sit down, but your body shifts. Your legs move. Your back curves. Your breath feels tight. Not because of pain, but because the chair never really fits. Not your size. Not your shape. Not your rhythm. You can still sit, but you never fully rest. And after a while, you stop asking your space to feel like home. You just adjust. In Feng Shui, flow comes from balance. Not just in the room, but between you and the things around you. When your chair is too low, too soft, too far from the table, Qi gets confused. It doesn't land. It doesn't move right. It breaks into pieces. And when your energy breaks like that, even just a little every day, your body starts to feel it. You sit, but you don't feel supported. An unfit chair is more than a small problem. It mirrors the part of you that always says, "It's fine, I'll make it work." You bend, you lean, you twist your way into spaces that never cared if you felt held. And maybe no one sees it. Maybe they think you're okay, but your energy remembers every moment. You stayed quiet when something didn't fit. It's like trying to write on a table that's too high, in a seat that sinks too low. You can still do it, but the words come slower. The thoughts break. You get tired faster. Not because you're weak, but because your body is always trying to fix what the chair won't. And slowly, have you stopped trusting comfort? Because nothing ever really holds you right. When your seat doesn't match your body, your muscles stay active, even when you're sitting still. Your back works harder. Your breath stays high. Your focus gets weaker. And even if you don't notice, your body is doing extra work just to feel okay. That takes energy. And over time, you feel tired, not from what you're doing, but from where you're sitting. So check your chair, not just how it looks, but how it holds you. Does it match your body? Does it meet you with care? Or do you have to change yourself to feel okay in it? Lift it, shift it, replace it if you must. Because the more your space fits who you are, the more your energy learns to stay. And maybe that's the whole point. Not to chase big change, but to make the small things feel more like they were made for you. A chair that fits, a room that breathes, a home that stops asking you to bend. And when that happens, something inside you comes back to center. You don't always need a new house. Sometimes you just need to look again at how your space is holding you. Not how it looks to others, but how it feels when you sit When you rest, when you walk from one room to another, if something feels off, too tight, too big, too far, too close, listen to it. Because your body always knows what your space forgot. So shift what's heavy. Move what never fit. Let your home meet you where you are now, not where you used to be. And if this message touched something in you, like, subscribe, and share this energy with someone else. You never know who's still sitting in a space that doesn't feel like theirs. Your space speaks. Wisdom listens.